I was in a Skype call with Geno360 last night, and I said this was a joke, but I did that for his sake. You know, because I know he's kind of, I don't want to say right-wing, and I don't want to say liberal either. He's just mainstream. And that's to be expected. You know, he's young, he was not exposed to a lot of the things I was, and things like that. So it's going to take time to, you know, integrate that frame of mind into his life where he's able to accept it even if he doesn't, you know, agree with it. So, on that point, you know, I wanted to make this video because upon thinking about it, I actually feel more sorry for the Boston victims than I do the Houston, Texas stabbing victims. And there's a particular reason. Because Boston has less moderators. Now, you might ask yourself, how do you know that, Jim Prophet? Well, because Boston has a lot of African American people. And African Americans aren't typically moderators. Now, you know, you say something like that and people automatically go, "That's racist!" But is it really? You know, racism requires negative connotations. Is it racism if it's positive connotations? That's a good question in and of itself that I don't think people are willing to ask. Is it racist to believe something good about somebody because of their particular ethnicity or culture or things like that? And would it be wrong to do that? Because, for example, the reason why I think Boston has less moderators than Houston, Texas is because there's less white people. And since there's less white people, culturally, there's going to be less moderators. It's not somehow magically to do with their race. It's not you're born black, therefore you're not going to grow up to be a serial killer or anything. It's due to the culture because of the environment they were raised in. Typically, African Americans are not as rich. Typically, African Americans are in not the positions to abuse power. They're not as often police officers. They're not as often people of authority. They're not assumed to be of that authority. So, they grow up with a different frame of mind. And this frame of mind is more compatible with the Jim Prophet ideology, with communist ideology, than white people. Does this mean all white people can't be communists? Does this mean all white people are moderators? Of course not. Many of my friends are white people. See what I did there. But, you know, there is this pattern. And we have to reflect upon these patterns. And we have to observe these patterns. That's why I defend the feminist movement, too. Because typically, women can't be moderators. It's not because of some magical thing involving the vagina. It's because of the way women were raised, and the way women conduct themselves in nature, and in the way that women are typically observed by society already. So, given all those qualities, it's just very unlikely. It's a dice roll. And if we know that life is full of dice rolls, why don't we choose situations that put the dice rolls to our advantage if there is any? So, that's why I feel more bad for the Boston victims than the Houston, Texas victims. Now, let's see how butthurt people get about that.